Toya Design Co. presents real people, real stories, your inspiration. You are watching Raven Maven.
Hey guys, so this month we're featuring Jones Acquah of the advertising and marketing firm FineLine Kreative. We're super excited to have him join us today. Plus I wanted to add that this will be the final episode for, not forever guys, just for the year. So let's jump right into it.
Well, thanks for having me. First and
course.
foremost, so appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to do this because I feel like I've only done a lot of people who have like their own little side project, but you have like your own business, like FineLine. Well, no, Darren also had his own business, but you have your own advertising agency, so that's a big thing.
Right.
So, just tell our viewers a little about yourself and the firm, and like what FineLine Kreative is all about.
Yeah, so I think just a little bit about myself per se. I think the biggest thing, obviously, as you know, is that we all start off as graphic designers to kind of start off with. So for me, a little bit of that, kind of transpired from I think kind of like the time frame of where things were at the time, especially with graphic design. Things weren't really technology based per se. I would say 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
So a lot of my design efforts and things of that nature was kind of really geared towards print design and just kind of focusing on the aesthetics of just coming up with a design composition. So just kind of having like a natural eye for that was something that I kind of started off with. But over the years, as time is kind of going on, and as technology's kind of progressed, you kind of had to open up your palette per se into doing other types of design across different types of mediums. So now I've kind of expanded into doing more digital design work, incorporating a little bit more web design work into that as well. So as that's kind of continued to progress for myself, I started noticing that I've also become very, very good and adept at connecting with designers per se.
Yeah.
And just kind of understanding their some of their habits, some of their tendencies, things that they like to do, and actually being able to now push them to doing work that they weren't even too sure that they were capable of doing.
Oh wow.
And then on top of that, now like I said, over the years, I've also have kind of noticed that there's been a lot of that transition between being a designer and kind of understanding the business side of things too, where now I'm also able to really be comfortable with the customers and be more so that client-facing type of person.
Right.
And just kind of being the bridge between the client and the designer. So, right now my role has kind of evolved into, kind of understanding, managing the project team, and
Right.
also managing now the client, their expectations, bringing in their sometimes wild and zany concepts and their ideas that they want to execute, and just kind of really giving that more of a structured and focused, type of streamlined campaign, something that really makes sense to their brand, their product, their service, whatever it is. So, in a nutshell, my role now is kind of, just being a project manager per se, so managing the project team, managing the project itself, and then providing some type of, creative direction and a focus point for clients' product and services. So that's kind of my role there now, with FineLine Kreative. And as far as FineLine Kreative, what we do there, I don't want to say that we're an agency per se. It sounds very conglomerate. sounds very rigid. But takeover. Right. But we're more so of a we're still a team of just kind of like a design boutique kind of team.
Okay.
We're not a corporation per se.
I think now because boutique is in right now.
Right.
We're like a design boutique.
Right. Right. And we really have a small team of just 5, like a core team of 5.
Core people, yeah.
Core team of 5. So we like to keep it that way. It's very fluid. And we do a lot of now advertising, just graphics and things of that nature, digital, motion graphics, web design.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, logo animations, things of that nature. So that's kind of where
you're at.
That's kind of where the business is at.
Is that, yeah.
Yeah.
How long you guys been in business now? Because I think 2008. Right?
Well, that's kind of when things were
forming,
being discussed. Things were kind of happening from that standpoint. But I would like to say officially, things were starting to get off the ground and running at around like 2013.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
okay.
That 2008 to 2013 period was really just a lot of like learning and kind of growing, just kind of
trying to figure out what you're gonna focus on.
Exactly.
And I want to touch on that. Like, you can have a business that guys, you can have a business that focuses on like niches or like certain areas of service or solutions.
Right.
So you guys chose to focus more on motion graphics now at this point and advertising. So I remember you did a campaign work for a brand called, is it Galapagos?
Galapagos.
Right. I can't say because it's so
the name
high
is
end.
The name is derived from the Galapagos Islands, so there you go.
Terrible. But like, you know, I remember seeing that campaign and thinking like, ooh, Jones is doing some real high end, you know, some real Gucci stuff right now. Because it was really, the campaign was like really, definitely I think you guys hit the mark as far as your target audience, which was definitely, this is a high end product, people a certain type of lifestyle. Right. Like we hang out on yachts and we go to. I don't know if that's the kind of vibe I got from it.
That's kind of what the client wanted, and that's kind of what the brand, essentially what it did kind of speak to. So you know, we really had to point that visual presence to that. And
I think you guys.
So we hit the mark on that one. All right, so thank you, I appreciate that.
So and the last time we had you know, Darren. We had Darren on here. We talked about, you know, being
big ups to Darren.
Big up Darren and the Fix Studios. But we talked about, you know, being immigrants or our parents were immigrants, and some of us are like, you know, I was born in America, but my parents was from Trinidad and Tobago, and like it seems like a lot of us tend to start our own thing, like become entrepreneurs or, you know, head out on our own. So, and I think that's a common thing among people of migrants. So, especially those from Africa, who they seem to like to lean towards entrepreneurship. So, do you think that inspired or motivated you at, you know, becoming an entrepreneur with like your background?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I think for me, I don't want to say that, you know, the background being from Africa really had or was the sole driving force, you know, to me wanting to become an entrepreneur. I think for me, wanting to be an entrepreneur was something that was a little bit more innate. It was kind of something that I felt like just the concept of being an entrepreneur for me at the time seemed the best way for me to go, because I do feel like, you know, I tend to have that kind of free spirit in a sense where, you know, I don't want to feel confined to certain rules and regulations or things of that nature. But I think the most important factor out of all of that is just the want and the desire to kind of shape my own destiny in a sense. Although, you know, a lot of that, and, you know, I'm sprinkling a little bit of religion in there too, but a lot of that is really, for me, you know, putting God first in everything I do. So I do know that ultimately, you know, He knows the destiny for me. He knows the true path and everything. But just kind of understanding that, you know, being an entrepreneur and that concept of it, it was kind of like the real driving force and driving factor for me. And just, you know, going through in and out of jobs at a time prior to me taking on this whole entire journey, you know, just that whole entire experience, I just kind of took that experience and said to myself, you know, this is not exactly
what you want,
exactly what I want to pin myself down to,
right?
You know, 10, maybe 15 years from now. You know, I definitely want to have another type of experience to talk about, and another journey that I felt like ultimately I could take on and eventually achieve at some point or another. So, so yes, you know, being that my parents are from Africa, I think just kind of seeing them every day and kind of seeing the work that they put in on a day-to-day basis,
right?
I definitely think some of that was, you know, has been kind of like instilled in me. So, you know, just seeing that and working hard every day and just kind of taking on that journey to be an entrepreneur is kind of what opened it up for me.
Right. Yeah. And I think I was thinking just now, because this is definitely not one of the questions I wrote down, but I was thinking that maybe for you were attracted to I think most people, especially creative people, I think what attracts us to entrepreneurship, I don't think it's really about, we don't have a problem with the work.
Right.
Because I feel like if you're a graphic designer or any type of designer, we all know it's a hell of a lot of work. So work isn't the issue. But I feel like for us, what attracts us to it is the possibilities.
Right.
That is the attraction, because that is the same thing with our ideas. Our ideas are like infinite, and the fact that you can originate something out of out of anything for something like I had a conversation with Iya whatever about, and that was the fusion or the genesis of this show. Like the fact that I was able to have that experience and that planted the seed, and then I decided to just make it happen.
Right.
Like that's I think what attracts us to, you know, basically being the maker of our own destinies.
Pretty much, sort of say, right?
Yeah. But what I wanted to talk about is I like the way you structured FineLine Kreative differently. I find now that a lot of actual agencies adopted your I call it your method, because you were the first person I know who thought of something like that.
Right.
I never heard of an agency doing this.
Right.
So basically, I remember.
And I think the time when we kind of
Yeah.
on that, you were a little like baffled with that.
Yeah, because I was just like, how is this going to work?
Right,
So basically, what Jones did was you signed me on as a contractor, and you pretty much had like this resource of other creatives that you would partner with. So basically, he would basically what he did was, this is freaking cool, guys. He just used his network of people he knew that had certain skill sets and said, hey guys, I want to have this agreement with you that you would work on possible projects if we need you for this time period. And if you're interested in, it wasn't like you had to, it was just like, if you were interested, you could work on a project and then we would, be compensated.
Right.
So, and what's cool about the way you did that was a way for you to keep your overhead down because you don't have to like pay a salary. You just pretty much splitting the profits of the project. So on a creative scenario by scenario basis.
Right.
So how did you come up with that idea, and do you still work pretty much the same way? Do you guys still work that way?
Yeah, we still work that way, and that idea really was just kind of out of necessity. So, the business really didn't call for for us to really spend all of our earnings and things that we already kind of had built up on spending for salaries and spending for outlandish studio spaces or things of that nature. So I think for us, and at that time when I was kind of building things up, it was really out of necessity. I think just being able to have designers on board on a case-by-case basis was really flexible for the designers, flexible for us as well.
Yeah.
And it was more so an opportunity for the designers to come on board on a project that they wanted to be on. And it was kind of like, like you touched on, it's not something that it was mandatory. We kind of wanted to keep that kind of
flexibility.
Open, that kind of flexibility. And again, I think just the type of clients that we were getting at that particular time, because we weren't so focused on just, reaching out to any and everybody.
Right, you had a niche.
We had a very specific clientele at the time, and it was really just, people that was in the film industry per se.
Yeah.
So more so independents though, like, film producers, things that were, producers that were doing like independent projects. So those projects were really, although at certain times the scope of the project could be really large depending on what they would want.
Yeah.
Those projects though were very intimate at the same time too.
Yeah.
So it really didn't call for like a corporate glare or anything, anything of that nature where you needed to have a mass amount of bodies on a particular project.
I have your people called my people.
Exactly. we didn't have all those layers that we had to deal with. So I think for the designers, it was really cool that they can definitely, work with me and I can work with them directly, and sometimes even get direct feedback from the client, although, we try to funnel some of that communication and conversation from the client to myself, and then
because you're kind of like the art director.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I will speak in the language of the designer so that the designer can best understand it the best way they can.
Right.
So that this way we eliminate all the confusion and the friction. So yeah, I think just out of that's where that business model came from. And lo and behold,
it's adopted now.
Several years later, there's so many fluid types of companies that, pick this model up. And lo and behold, now you transfer that over into technology. There's actually like apps now where these companies are utilizing where contractors, things of that nature, they can actually pick jobs that they want through these apps. Right. But that's, from the company. Yeah. Depending on whatever jobs they have, they can pick those, they can pick whatever job they want to sign on for. And then you obviously either have your set hourly rate, and then you can take it from there. So
and I didn't even know there was. I know about like networks and stuff like that. There's there's a freelance app called ah-kwah that I use.
Okay.
And they have this newsletter they send out called the Gig List.
Okay.
And it's like a list of jobs and stuff.
Right.
And I thought that was pretty cool. But you guys, what you're talking about is deeper because
Right.
it's more about like these people are vetted. You know, like, hey, Sarah is an illustrator and an animator.
Exactly.
And she's excellent at
Right.
those two things.
Right.
So I have the perfect project for Sarah that I got.
Right.
I got this deal.
Right.
And I could use Sarah on this project because she's the perfect person to
Right.
help me execute the client's,
and that's,
vision.
Right, and that goes to another point that you just mentioned. Like, there's a rigorous kind of screening process that goes into every person that we work with, that we've contracted. So just making sure that whether it's a project that's current or a project that's going to be coming up in the future, that they have the necessary and the necessary skill sets to get the job done.
It.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that came about.
You should pat yourself on the back because no, legit, like I'm a nerd and I read a lot, and right. I was reading, 99U. They were bought by Adobe.
Okay.
Which is
actually the term now does kind of ring a bell.
So they had created different products,
okay.
Some print products. They have 99U was the website, and then they have the
right.
conference 99U.
Okay, yeah.
And they interviewed, I think his name is Dan Wall of Super Friendly, and he was just like, that's like how his agency is designed, the same
right.
business
yeah,
model.
Yeah.
And I was like, my friend was doing that first.
Yeah. and now he's getting all the credit. Huh?
Now everybody's like, wow, so cool.
Right.
Like, I know somebody who did it before.
Right.
But so I thought originally that your agency focused on like advertising and motion graphics, and I think it does primarily. But right. How did you decide what services to build the agency around? Like what? Yeah, but like basically, like how did you figure that out? These are the areas that we wanted to focus on.
Well, again, I think it's just out of necessity, and it kind of points back to simply just technology. Mm-hmm. Technology, honestly, right now is kind of dictating the way consumers view things. It's dictating the way how consumers buy things,
consume things.
Mm-hmm. So everything. So it's really just dictating a lot of things. So if you're not able to really adapt your structure, some of your selling points, things of that nature, then you're gonna fall way behind on that totem pole per se. So I think for me, just understanding that there were certain trends that was happening. We really couldn't just stick to doing print design only,
right? And
just kind of focusing in that particular film market or people of the film background. So we kind of had to open it up to now just saying, hey, startups, the general audience, individuals with other types of businesses outside of films or things of that nature, fashion clients, stuff
right,
like that. So,
right.
A lot of the marketing tools and the deliverables, the assets that we do provide to these clients, a lot of them now could be used across different types of media platforms.
Right.
Media platforms. So, and primarily social media.
Mm-hmm.
Social media is really a driving force, especially for small businesses who don't really have the capital to go out there and spend tens of thousands of dollars on advertising to reach whoever they want to reach.
True.
Social media is really their home base to get things going. But
it's affordable.
It's affordable, but you still have to come up with a viable plan that's going to attract the audience that you want, right?
Right.
So it's not just saying, hey, let's throw up some piece of content and that'll hopefully
hope
work.
that the person's gonna call you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it has to be structured. It has to be planned. It has to be like a course of action and a time period that you have to kind of give yourself to see how these things are going to work. And those are some of the tools and the materials that we provide to some of these clients, through for social media and other types of I guess platforms that they can kind of advertise their products on.
Yeah. What advice would you give someone who is interested in starting their own, boutique agency or firm? Or business in general, yeah.
Yeah, just the business in general, I would definitely say, make sure that you're truly, truly passionate about it. That's number one. And I think, number two, and this might be a little offbeat, but I think what tends to happen sometimes when people try to go on this journey of trying to, start something, sometimes they just kind of, they travel to the moon and back. They travel to all these different places to try to find what's going to work.
Right.
Try to find what's going to make, their particular business go or whatnot. And sometimes, all of that is really not necessary. Like, the answers that you truly need is right there in front of you.
Face, yeah.
So you just got to kind of sometimes just slow down, take a deep breath, just kind of observe what's going on around you, and just take that in. Take that in for a moment. And I think the biggest thing, maybe the third thing, is just persistence and hard work.
Yeah.
So, if that's something that people want to try to get into, as far as starting a business or being an entrepreneur, things of that nature, just understand that it's going to come with a lot of work. It's going to be a little bit of a grind.
A lot of no's.
Yeah, a lot of no's. A lot of no's. And just just staying consistent. So I think if you have those three elements in that particular order going for you, then eventually some things will start to happen. Even for me, like, I didn't know that I was going to meet the different types of people that I've met over the course of the years. I've met some big hitters, especially within within the African American community. So it's been a lot of positive things that's happened, over time. So that's probably some of the advice that I would give.
Okay, I gotta be your new friend. Keep them on the show.
I think that actually would be good.
Yeah, for real. Because that's what we're all about here.
Yeah.
Is just exposing, opportunities for us. So Halloween is over, and I'm sad about it because my Halloween costume was lit. But can you share a nightmare client story and how you were able to get to a solution to appease them?
Right. Yeah.
Because I've had them myself.
So I think one that I can think of right off the top of my head is there was a logo design that we were doing for a very particular company. I don't want to name names.
You should not say it.
I don't want to name any names. I'm actually working with this particular, one of the members from that company.
Okay.
But anyways, long story short, I think we were doing a logo for them, and I think we done went through maybe about 300 different types of logos.
Well, how did the scope change so much?
It just happened, right?
This is before you learned how to curb the scope creep.
Exactly.
That's what we call the scope creep. When the client, you said you get 3 revisions, and all of a sudden the client wants 6.
Right.
No, boo. That is outside the line of this project.
So this particular project went beyond 6, and I think we really got to about maybe 30 different variations of the logo.
Oh, God.
And lo and behold, they chose none of those logos, and they simply went with just the text portion of the logo.
Okay.
So I think just from start to finish, from our designer, coming to me with his explicit
creeps.
Right.
His grievance.
It was just a project from hell. So
Yeah.
it was one of those projects where.
And you probably lost money on that one.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
The time that was spent on it was beyond outrageous. But it's one of those things where for me, I like to learn it once.
Yeah.
I like
one time for you. Yeah.
I like to go through one bad experience and not have to redo that again. So I think from that particular experience, we just kind of learned, or I learned, how to really change the dynamics of what the customer is expecting, or what they think they can try to get away with based off what they feel like they're paying for,
right?
And how much they think it's really worth. Just curving all of those thoughts and just their ways of trying to manipulate things. That kind of experience, definitely helped me to kind of get over that hump.
Especially now that you're doing a lot more customer or client facing, face.
Right.
You're pretty much like not only the art director where you manage the team, but then you're also the account manager for the client. Like, you're the person they're going to complain to about.
Right.
Like, I don't like this.
Essentially.
And you're able to figure it out.
Right.
And I guess what's cool about, I think that part of the business, and I mean, I've done freelance work and I didn't have an in-between person, but it's nice to have an in-between person. but I think it's an important skill set to learn. Right. That's why I wanted to bring it up about the scary client, the scary problem, because I think we're in a business of problem solving.
Right.
So we need to manage expectations, and also we need to make sure that they're set lines that people don't cross, because then things can get scared out of control.
And that's the truth, right? So
yeah.
That's something that I had to learn. But that's, as far as one nightmare project, that was definitely one of them. And I would say probably
1,000 revisions.
Yeah, that was probably the only one that went that bad.
That bad, yeah.
That bad so quickly.
Yeah.
It turned south bad and fast. So yeah.
Woo. So you have it now, in the contract, you only get a certain number of revisions.
Yeah, but I think now, just because of the experience now that, I've kind of gathered over the years, and just kind of understanding really how to better take in some of the concepts, what the client is expecting. And then again, I have help now. You know, I
Yeah.
have help with people who are, who are able to also, communicate effectively with the client as well. So it's not just me that's kind of, that's kind of like behind the scenes or anything like that. So, things are definitely a lot more, smoother in that kind of sense. So, and like I said, I really haven't had any problems like that with clients as far as just not meeting certain expectations or, whatever it is, or just project kind of going awry. So, so
that's good.
Thank God for that.
Hopefully no more.
Not gonna do it, right?
So, I wanted to talk about, we talked about, touch briefly that, you are from African descent. Well, we all African descent, technically. But
Ghana.
you know exactly where you're from.
Yeah.
So you one up me.
Yeah.
But with the growing development in Africa and a lot of people out, say Chinese moving into and starting businesses within the continent, do you think there's a place for like your company, and would you go like international, become the Akon of advertising or
the Akon of advertising? Wow. Yes. Going back, or I'll say going to Ghana or going to Africa, or just more so trying to cross the international plane is something that I've definitely thought about, and I'm actually in the works right now of actually dealing with a company that provides education for young girls out in Ghana.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so they're a nonprofit organization, and they kind of help further these girls in their education in that regard. So we're kind of in talks right now with either doing a fundraiser for that particular organization, or actually just kind of going out there and visiting their site and seeing how seeing the inner workings, and then trying to figure out ways to develop that partnership and things of that nature. But that's just from I guess a general kind of consumer kind of base. But again, even in Ghana and places like that, just in Africa, the film industry is pretty big out there, and it's gotten better too. So I think there's definitely room for this type of service.
Is changing
everything.
Africa.
All that stuff is really changing now. So I think there's definitely room.
Them videos be looking real legit.
Trust me. I've seen the progress. So I think there's definitely room for that. I think I don't want to say that I do know what's going on out there as far as who's providing those types of service. Hopefully nobody, right?
Yeah.
But I'm sure
might be space. Yeah.
Right. But I think once I do take that visit out to Ghana, I think I'll definitely have a little more insight on what the next move should be. But like I said, we're in talks of doing something with that particular organization. So hopefully that goes through, and big ups, shouts to Ghana, my people out there. So just want to put that out there.
I got a thing for the Ghana people. So I was listening to a podcast featuring Christy Tillman. So if some of you don't know, I'm like obsessed with her, but she's like this amazing Black woman, and she's also the head of design at Slack. And if you don't know what Slack is, you must be living under a rock. But in a recent podcast, she said that to be successful, you need to work hard, which we talked about, have great timing and opportunity. Do you think that is true, or what do you think is the formula that has allowed you to be successful?
I think definitely working hard, having great timing, opportunity, those things are definitely realistic. But I think, like I said, the biggest thing is just really just being patient.
Okay.
Being patient and not being so much in a hurry to try to get things done. Because sometimes you're really gonna miss that opportunity when you're like moving at 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Trying to achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Sometimes you really do have to just take a moment, take a step back, and just really honestly just enjoy life. And that's what I think that's the greatest misconception about trying to be successful.
Yeah.
Being successful, for me, in my opinion, doesn't really mean that you gotta go out there relentless, no sleep, no this, that, and the third. Like
destroy everything in your path.
Yeah, it's just, I think that to me is just kind of it's a little counterproductive.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just being able to have that good balance.
Yeah.
And definitely just working hard and being consistent. Those things are definitely very important. And I think for me personally, just the formula to success, I think that's always changing.
Yeah.
Right. I don't really think there's a
set thing.
Right. There's not a set thing that's always going to be in place, but there are some core principles that are going to be in place. So I think if you do have those core things, that discipline, that staying consistent and just kind of working hard and just kind of, like I said, just understanding what's around you and your environment, just kind of appreciating things. I think those things will definitely help further you along to the path of success. So, if somebody had a formula to success, please share that particular formula, and then we can get that going for everybody, right? So, but yeah, I think that's...
We'll all be winning.
Right, yeah, right. But I think that for me is kind of some of the biggest elements.
Or like, you know, you just said everyone measures success differently, and maybe the factors that you consider that you would use to measure your own success is different from other people.
Right.
So...
Which, you know,
this is true, because like,
vary,
some people
right?
are like, oh, I got a Maserati, I'm successful. Like,
right.
You bought a car that depreciates every day.
Right. You might be rich in life, but you're not rich with life. Right?
Exactly,
So,
yeah. So, speaking of, Inc. magazine stated in an article that most CEOs read a book a week. Could you imagine?
That's,
a book a week.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
So can you share with us...
I guess I'm falling back on that
one. Can you share with us 3 books that add value to your business and life?
Yeah.
And I'm not expecting you to be like, I read 3 books a week.
No, I'm not even going to lie to you and say I read 3 books a week. So that's I'm not even going to do that to myself. But got 2 books right now instantly. Is the first one is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I don't know if anybody has read that book, but I'm pretty sure, you know, I don't know if you've...
I've heard of it, but I didn't read it. Yeah.
I think, you know, people who are on that particular journey to trying to find themselves and trying to find that re-encouragement and pretty much that go-get-em attitude, I think that book is perfect for that. It's really a great book. It's very imaginative. It's a great story, and there's a lot of good life concepts and life principles in that book that can really help fuel that motivation and that fire and desire within you. So that's a great book. Once again, it's called The Alchemist, so definitely check that book out if you haven't heard it. And the other book is Mastery by Robert Greene.
Okay.
Another wonderful
I know
book.
that name.
Yeah. He's a pretty...
Is he a Christian writer?
I believe he is.
Yeah, I know his name.
He is.
Yeah. I may have read something.
You probably have.
Yeah.
You probably have. But the Mastery is a very, very intense type of book. It just really touches on a lot of the great minds from the past, you know, the Charles Darwin theory, you know, Mozart, you know, all these great musical composers, just a lot of great legends, you know, from past time, and it just kind of really gives you a very more in-depth kind of look as to how they figured it out for themselves, how they were able to master their craft. So, you know, those 2 books right there, I think those are exceptional books. The third one is another Robert Greene book. It's called The 48 Laws of Power. Okay,
he's not a Christian. That's why I know his name. The 48 Laws of Power. People, get your life, Toya. Get your life. I haven't read it, and he also wrote The Art of Seduction. I think.
Yes, he did. Yeah,
and he talked about that was cool, not for men and for women, because it was more about like people in history and how they were able to, even in 48 Laws of Power, it's really about manipulation. And pretty much how to get people to behave a certain way so that you can get to a certain end result. Right. And I'm sorry, people, I think manipulation has a bad connotation, but like everyone's being manipulated every day. Like, what do you think advertising is? So it's just a part of life. It's either you're going to be the one pulling the strings or the strings are getting pulled. So you decide. So, yes, thank you for sharing those books with us.
You're not going to be able to read Mastery in a week. So, scratch that off the list. Maybe The Alchemist you can, but not Mastery.
So, I'm basically going to close up now, but we're going to wrap it up. But I just want to say thank you for joining us today. And please share with our people, our viewers, how they can connect with you.
Oh, so, yeah, you can definitely catch us on Instagram at our full name, which is FineLine Kreative, and it's creative with a K. And then on Twitter is it's at FL all caps and then _ creative K with the all caps and then creative REATIV.
I'm gonna put that in the description, guys.
Yeah, just edit that out. So yeah, or add a little what do you call it? A little subtext to that. And then the Facebook is also FineLine Kreative, so you can catch us there as well.
And you could follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Toya Design Co. And please support our show by making a donation. 100% of every donation goes to this project, Raven Maven. And don't forget to like and share this video with all your friends. Thank you.